Good afternoon and welcome to round 8 of the 2017 Maxxis DTRA UK Flattrack Nationals from the Arlington Stadium here in Sussex, the traditional home of the Eastbourne Eagles Speedway team. Today it's Flattrack that takes centre stage with the final round of the 2017 campaign. Last time out in the Amman Valley, Alan Birtwistle scored enough points to guarantee a second successive title, meaning that his main rivals this season, Aidan Collins and Toby Hales, will duel for silver and bronze medals in the 2017 standings at this final round. Back-to-back victories for Toby Hales see him ahead of Aidan Collins by 3 points in the standings, but with each rider's poorest score removed at the end of the campaign, Hales leads it by just a single point net over Aidan Collins. Presuming both finish in the top 5, it will be a straightforward head-to-head here this afternoon. Reduced pro numbers for the final round mean a different format to what we've seen in the previous rounds. 3 heat races plus a double points final. The points combined across the day to decide the overall victor at round number 8. Watch then for Toby Hales on the outside of the middle row and Aidan Collins directly behind him as we get underway with race number 1. It's Richard Mason who gets there first. Around the outside of him, Alan Birtwistle, the 2017 champion, pulling alongside. Side by side for the race lead. Mason heads in deeper into turn number 3. Tries to block out Alan Birtwistle, who gets the cut back and leads at the end of the opening lap. Mason then relegated to second. Sam Hurst has third, 3 abreast in the chase for 4th position, with Aidan Collins down in 7th and snapping at their heels. Toby Hales doing well to win out in that 3 abreast battle coming off the second bend. Gets around the outside of Leah Tokelev, and now Gary Birtwistle is coming through up the inside of Tokelev, who's slipping backwards now into the clutches of Aidan Collins. Sam Hurst having to defend against Toby Hales, who tends to prefer the larger raceways of the like of the Amman Valley, where he won last time out, but he's clawing his way around the outside well here at the tight confines of the Arlington Stadium, just 275 metres. Hales has made his way at the expense of Sam Hurst, who's relegated down to 4th position, and Aidan Collins meanwhile has got the better of Gary Birtwistle down the inside and now is going for 2 for 1 as he gets up the inside of Sam Hurst coming off the 4th bend. Hurst manages to get back across the front of him into turn number 1 as further up meanwhile Toby Hales attempts to close down Richard Mason for second. Collins tripping over Sam Hurst there coming off turn number 2, and now Gary Birtwistle is getting back around the outside of him. We've got a real race on our hands here for 4th position between Sam Hurst, Aidan Collins and Gary Birtwistle, and Hales is the closest he's been to Richard Mason, pulling alongside coming off the second bend, side by side going into turn 3 on the final lap in the race for second position. The pair have gone down and it's a drag race down to the line for what is now second, with Sam Hurst just holding on ahead of Aidan Collins. A frantic final lap, but with Toby Hales and Richard Mason both coming down, the race reaches its natural conclusion at the end of 6 laps, with Alan Birtwistle taking the checkered flag. Sam Hurst and Aidan Collins, the late race beneficiaries of a collision between Toby Hales and Richard Mason, and Collins moves up into a double-figure scoring total for race number 1 from the back row. That's a great effort and a great start to what will be Aidan Collins' final appearance as a pro flat track rider. The race early on was Toby Hales working his way through around the outside, Aidan Collins doing the same around the inside. Hales made swifter work of it, got the better of Sam Hurst there for 3rd position, closed down Richard Mason, but the pair falling on the final turn gifts 3rd position to Aidan Collins. As ever in this standard DTRA format, all of the riders will appear off each of the rows of the grid, front, middle and back, in the 3 heat races, and then their seeding position, their scoring position in the heat stages will determine their grid position for the final. But of course, the final will be for double points rather than for championship points here today. So we'll see how they get on through the heat stages, and that will give us an indication as to who is going to make it onto the podium here this afternoon. Jeff Kane goes off the inside of the front row here for Heat 2. Mike Hill alongside on the number 35 bike. Kai Forts off the 3rd starting position and Sam Hurst on the outside. The middle row features Vince Hurst on the number 95. The number 1, Alan Birtwistle, the reigning champion, already confirmed winner in 2017. Leah Tokelev on the number 37 bike, and Aidan Collins off the outside of that middle row, going directly head-to-head on the same row of the grid as Alan Birtwistle. From the back row of the grid, Richard Roden, Gary Birtwistle, Toby Hales and Richard Mason. Hales Hales and Mason lining up alongside one another, with Ross Herod, the last rider, to settle into line off the outside. An unusual looking grid with 5 riders in one of the rows of the grid in each of the races with 13 entrants. We're underway with heat number 2. Sam Hurst has made the burst, but look at Aidan Collins finding his way through from the outside of the middle row, straight up into second position, side by side for third as Alan Birtwistle tries to recover places. He's been out-trapped there by Aidan Collins, who's blasting away. Now that he's hit the front, it'll be tough to pass him on exactly the type of circuit that he favours. He won the opening round of the season at Rye House's Speedway circuit, and he's looking to do the same in his final appearance here at Arlington. Richard Mason also working his way through the field, but he's run very deep there on turns 3 and 4. Toby Hales picks off Jeff Kane on the number 45 bike and comes through. So now in the firing line once again, Richard Mason, with Toby Hales trying to find his way through. He's got it a bit wrong there coming off turn 2 though, and Gary Birtwistle nips up the inside and through. So great racing going on in the mid pack. This is the battle for 5th, 6th and 7th places, all going on behind Leah Toklove, who at the moment is attempting to close down Mike Hill. This is the race for second position between Sam Hurst and Alan Birtwistle. Sam Hurst doing a great job to hold back the 2017 champion. Let's see if he can hold him there right to the finish. Birtwistle, remember, coming through from the middle row. He's got to go from the back row in his final heat race, and things are not going to plan for Alan Birtwistle so far, as he is relegated down to third position. He goes for the cutback off turn number 4, but we're under yellow flags now, going back down to turns 1 and 2, and it's a nasty impact into the air fence for Vince Hurst and Kai Fort by the looks of it there on the pits turn, and that's going to bring a premature halt to race number 2. So I did say ahead of this one that we have a pretty stacked field with a 13 rider entry, and with riders with vast experience trying to make their way through from the back row of the grid. That's causing a little bit of chaos, because we saw on the final lap of race number 1 Richard Mason and Toby Hales coming down. Well, it's the 95 of Vince Hurst and the number 40 of Kai Fort who've come down this time around in race number 2, and I suspect that that race will be awarded, but it remains to be seen what will be done with Kai Fort and Vince Hurst as to who scores points in that one and who's judged to have caused that stoppage. In fact, it is entirely possible that the pair of them will be demoted as non-scorers in the final classification. Sam Hurst just having a conversation with Vince Hurst. That was a successful race for Sam. He moves third in the day's standings with second position in race number 2, ahead of Alan Birtwistle, who gets third. Now he and Aidan Collins are tied on 25 points apiece, but Collins lines up off the front row in race number 3, whereas Alan Birtwistle will have the tough task of coming through from the back row. Richard Mason did a good job to work his way through the field from the back row, but Toby Hales also clawing his way past Jeff Kane, and Richard Mason leaving himself a little bit vulnerable at one stage during the race. Things got a little bit exciting with Gary Birtwistle fighting his way through from the back row as well. But 5 riders off the back row, and we ended up seeing a bit of congestion later on in the race that determined an early stoppage to heat number 2. The last of our pro heat races is next up, with Aidan Collins looking to defend his lead in the heat standings, tied alongside Alan Birtwistle, 25 points apiece. The top 3 separated by just 1 point, with Sam Hurst also in the mix on 24. Hurst and Birtwistle both have to come from the back row of the grid here in their third and final heat race, so it's advantage Aidan Collins, but there is a 5-rider front row lining up here, so Collins will be looking to make a customarily fast start, just as he did from the middle row last time out, to win race number 2. Let's see if Collins can make it back-to-back race victories as he attempts to move towards the silver medal runner-up position in the 2017 campaign. Collins, the winner of the opening round of the season at Rye House, versus Toby Hales, the winner at round 6 and 7 in the Amman Valley. And at the moment, it's very much advantage Aidan Collins. He's the rider on 25 heat points, compared to just 6 for Toby Hales, after he got caught up in an incident first time out with Richard Mason and failed to fare much better from the back row last time out in race number 2. This time, the number 20 will go off the pole, the inside of the front row, alongside Richard Roden, Ross Herod, Aidan Collins and Vince Hurst. A gap on the inside of the middle row after the withdrawal of Jeff Kane. That leaves 3 riders only from the middle row: Gary Birtwistle, Richard Mason and Mike Hill. And from the back row, Kai Fort, Sam Hurst and Alan Birtwistle, alongside Leah Toklove, who completes our lineup here. We're just waiting for Alan Birtwistle to come into line. He's got to try and get the better of Aidan Collins if he wants to take top seeding spot, first starting position choice for today's grand final. Collins looking good at the moment, and Toby Hales has a lot of work to do to try and get the better of Collins here as we get underway with the last of the heat races here at round number 8. Not a bad start from Ross Herod, but a much better one from Aidan Collins, who goes up to the outside line coming off the second bend and through for the lead. Toby Hales takes up the challenge in second position. Gary Birtwistle following him through down the inside into turn 3. Ross Herod dropping down to 4th position after a strong start. They're 3 abreast behind Herod. Alan Birtwistle trying to come around the outside of Richard Mason, who gets a little bit squirrely coming off the second bend. Sam Hurst has been held back briefly by Ross Herod, enabling Alan Birtwistle to claim another position. Sam Hurst now gets the better of Ross Herod, and Richard Mason locks it up on turn 4, trying to do the same. Plenty of passing once again in this race number 3, the last of the heat races, but it's Aidan Collins who leads, and this is going to be enough for him to book his place on the front row of the grid, but with first seeding position as well. Richard Mason holding off the attentions here of Richard Roden as Vince Hurst behind them locks up, and Leia Toklov comes through down the inside. Toklov going acute into turn number 1. Roden with a good ride here, looks over his shoulder, sees that Toklov is almost alongside. Can he go defensive into turn number 3? He's going to go pretty deep, in fact, on turn 3. Toklov's then going to get the inside coming off turn 4, and through she comes to gain another position in the midfield. So good racing here from Leia Toklov, who has scored consistently in her opening 2 rides. 8 points in race number 1, 8 points in race number 2, and this is not a bad effort from Leia Toklov, who's going to have one final look around the outside, and now the cutback manoeuvre on Richard Mason, but Mason is holding it down to the inside line well. Toklov looking wider on turns 1 and 2. Mason gets out of shape, and through goes Leia Toklov. That is an excellent effort from the rider of the number 37 machine, who has been the rider on the march on the last couple of laps. Is just going to fall short there of Ross Herod. One wheel over the line for Richard Mason. It's not been a great heat programme for him, quite honestly. Failed to score first time out. He'll be grateful for the fact that there's such a limited entry of just 13 riders, because he will march on to the final and have an opportunity with double points on offer to improve on his ranking here this afternoon. But it's Aidan Collins who takes a second victory of the afternoon to move through to the final as top seed with 40 race points. So remember that these heat points are carrying forward here this afternoon to be added to the total points from the final. What a great ride that was early on from Alan Birtwistle to get around the outside of both Sam Hurst and Ross Herod. Hurst held at bay briefly by Herod, but Herod, after making a good start and getting down to the inside line on the first turn, slipped dramatically backwards as the race went on. Nonetheless, he will qualify through to today's grand final as 8th seed. The final race of the afternoon is also the longest. It's the double points final for the pro riders. A reminder of the championship standings in the UK Nationals. It's Alan Birtwistle who has that unassailable lead out in front. He's just racing for the glory in this one. The championship fight is between Aidan Collins and Toby Hales. As I said previously, they come into this final round separated by 3 championship points, a net difference of 1 point with the lowest scoring round removed. It's Aidan Collins who has topped the heat standings. It's very much advantage Collins here at Arlington. Toby Hales all the way down in 6th position in the heat standings, has 22 points to make up in this final race. A top 7 finish in this outing for Aidan Collins would guarantee him at least 5th in the day standings and put him on a total that Toby Hales can't match. So as I said, providing Collins can make it into the top 7 in this race, there is nothing that Hales can do to stop him from taking the silver medal in what is going to be his retirement season, his final full campaign with the DTRA. Aidan Collins circling back away from the start line. I know he'll want to go out on a high. The damage done for Toby Hales earlier on in the heat programme with just a single point score following a fall in race number 1. And Collins, well, it's almost a mere formality for him now. He will be lining up off the outside of the front row of the grid. That's the start position that he's chosen. Alan Birtwistle will line up directly on the inside of him. And then Sam Hurst, who had 3rd choice of starting position, has gone for the pole, the inside on the front row. So the front row will read Sam Hurst, Gary Birtwistle, Alan Birtwistle and Aidan Collins. The middle row will read Ross Herod, Mike Hill, Leia Toklov and Toby Hales. Richard Roden just settling in there on the back row. Next to choose will be Richard Mason, then Vince Hurst and Kai Fort will complete the 12-rider lineup for this grand final. Well, it's been a long and illustrious career for Aidan Collins. 2017 will be his 10th successive campaign on the championship podium. He was unable to get the better of Alan Birtwistle last season and add to his 5 national titles taken between 2010 and 2015, interrupted in just one campaign in 2014. Can Collins end on a high with victory at round number 8? He certainly made a good start off the outside, runs straight up into the deeper stuff on the outside line, and Sam Hurst, who's got the whole shot, locks it up coming off the second bend, enabling Collins to come through to lead. Sam Hurst now under pressure from Alan Birtwistle, trying to come around the outside of him at the end of the opening lap. Hurst has got his wheels in line well and holds on. Race for 4th position as well. Toby Hales going in deeper, trying to get the better of Gary Birtwistle, who was on the blue groove heading into turns 1 and 2. But Hales has steamed all the way around the outside of him, and Ross Herod gets a good switch back up the inside coming off the second bend, but can't quite make it count down the back straight. And Gary Birtwistle now turns hard off turn 4 to overhaul Toby Hales, and that's for 4th position. Hales relegated down to 5th as Ross Herod goes backwards. It's Richard Mason who comes through to 6th position, and Herod will swiftly come under pressure now from Leia Tokluv, who's coming through around the outside of Mike Hill. Hill trips up over Ross Herod coming off the 4th bend, and Tokluv has made another position and now sets off in pursuit of the number 52 around the outside line. Hales, meanwhile, is attempting to get the better of Gary Birtwistle. This is setting up quite a nice race behind the podium struggle, with Hales trying to come through. But remember that Hales needs to win this race with Aidan Collins outside of the top 7, and with each passing lap, that's looking more and more unlikely. Gary Birtwistle gets out of shape coming off the second bend, almost high-sides it on the pits turn, and Toby Hales comes through to make up another place, but it's going to take a miracle from here for the number 20 to find his way through the field. The longest race of the afternoon, of course, so there was time for riders to make it through from the back row of the grid, as in fact Richard Mason has proven. He's already made up a couple of places, as behind him Leia Tokluv and Ross Herod dice over the minor placings, but those are the only positions that look like changing in the latter stages of this race. The top 3 places certainly look to be settling down, and it's Aidan Collins who's going to get the better of Alan Birtwistle. He did so in the heat stages by 6 points, and as long as he holds on ahead of Alan Birtwistle here, he will take the overall win at round number 8 as well. Herod getting a smoother run there off turn number 4 further back, but unable to get on terms with Leia Tokluv, who's put in a brilliant stint here this afternoon. This will surely be her best performance as a pro rider. Ross Herod gets past Tokluv momentarily down the back straight. The number 37 bike then heading deeper into turn number 3 to gain the advantage and come back past Herod. We're into the second half of the race now, time ticking away for Alan Birtwistle to try and end with a 3rd victory of 2017, and it's Aidan Collins who won at round number 1, who will surely bookend his season with a victory at the start of the season and a victory to round out his professional career as well. Leia Tokluv has cleared Ross Herod. It doesn't look as though Herod is going to be able to get back on terms. Mike Hill some way adrift, and that has settled the midfield battle as well. Collins leading it, Birtwistle 2nd, Sam Hurst in 3rd, set for a 1st career podium in the DTRA Pro category. As we come in towards the final lap now, Aidan Collins just coming up on the last of the lead lap runners, so Kai Fort at the back of the field. Collins needs to make a decision here about whether to go for the pass, whether to lap Kai Fort, or whether to hold station, but he may make himself vulnerable to Alan Birtwistle. 2 turns to go, Birtwistle not quite on terms, and Aidan Collins wins the last of his pro rounds, and Aidan Collins signs off as a professional flat track rider at the end of 10 successive seasons on the championship podium, with victory at round number 8, his 2nd win of the 2017 season. Congratulations to Aidan Collins, for whom that result also means the silver medal in 2017, and Aidan Collins very much signing off in style. I'm sure we'll see him back as a wildcard rider in the future, but as for his professional career, that was his final event. He made that clear ahead of this final round, announced it and confirmed it in the Amman Valley after defeat at the hands of Alan Birtwistle in the championship. but some consolation here this afternoon at Eastbourne for Aidan Collins, who came from a Speedway background, remember, retired from Speedway pretty early on and became a flat track rider. He has consolidated his status as the #1, and his mark of 5 championships will be tough to beat for either Alan Birtwistle, who now sits on 2, or any of the other riders who might hope to get the better of him in the future. Toby Hales, undoubtedly a star of the future. He finishes the 2017 campaign in 3rd position in the series standings, but he couldn't get the better of Aidan Collins on his speciality, a Speedway circuit, for round number 8. So look at the championship classification then at the end of the 2017 campaign. It's Alan Birtwistle who tops the standings on 120. In the end, 12 points clear of Aidan Collins, and Toby Hales, who takes the bronze medal behind former champion Aidan Collins, retiring from the sport, and the 2 times champion Alan Birtwistle, who takes up the mantle as back-to-back champion.